No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
And
I was just my foot
we
on
want
the chair,
to-
actually.
Oh yes,
Will.
and Will
And Will.
and Patricia. I understand you're tuning in France right now. And Susie said hello, and all of us send our love to you. And no matter where you're tuning in, if it's in Beijing, if it's in Mumbai, India, if it's in London, if you're just waking up to join us, wherever you are, we want to say thank you for joining us and experiencing this with all of us. Sharing yourself, your subconscious mind, and as we're doing this each week, we are uniting ourselves as one mind. The time has come that all of us are one. We know that. We remembered it. And so what we do is we start each week with this type of a demonstration. We're just going to close our eyes, uncross anything that you have, any legs or arms, hands, uncross them. And, oh, is that comfortable? There's a more comfortable one over here if you would like. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're just going to close our eyes for a moment with everything uncrossed and breathe in slowly. And as we breathe in all the positive cosmic energy of the universe, and we ask for strength, protection, and guidance. And as we breathe in all the positive cosmic energy of the universe. And we ask for strength, protection, and guidance. And as we breathe in all the positive cosmic energy of the universe. And we ask for strength, protection, and guidance. And the last time. As we breathe in all the positive cosmic energy of the universe, and we ask that our minds are united as one. Our subconscious minds are one in infinity and with infinity. And we share the bright and perfect message that each of us are here to say and to be. Welcome. We get together, like I said, wherever you are tuning in the world right now, and for the people who have come to be a part of this live group here in Alpharetta, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, Georgia in the USA. We get together each week to understand ourselves a little bit better, to make history, to create a historical point. Hello there. To just create this historical point. And that historical point is your history. This is your historical point. In order for you to have a historical point, a point that you can look back and say, at that moment, something changed. It might have been going really good up to that point, but it got better. Or it might have been challenging and it got easier. But it was at that moment that my history changed. And it's at that moment whenever we want it to be. Tonight I want to just share with you about changing your pattern. Changing your pattern. With anything that is successfully made, there's a pattern. If it's a dish, a recipe is the pattern. If it's a building, the blueprint. If it's an invention of some sort, there is a pattern that pre-exists before that successful item is produced. But unfortunately, patterns don't necessarily produce successful items always. You can have an irregular or an aberrant pattern in your life that's producing things that you don't want. They can be people, they can be health issues, they can be strains, pains of any sort. And these patterns we have been programmed prior to this point to believe that the patterns were good. If they even were hurting us, that's good. Why? Because this is God's plan. God's plan is for me to suffer. And people have lived that way for thousands of years, believing this. But the truth of the matter is that God's plan, being that God is infinite intelligence, infinite power, infinite love, infinite everything, it would be impossible for an infinite love or an infinite mind to have the intention of making something suffer. That's a very primal. And so we have been programmed through the different religions and the different teachings and so forth, and then passed down through our master teachers and elders and friends and family and anyone else that claims they love you, or that they may love you. I'm just saying that declares that they love you would be a better way of putting it. And what are they really passing down is their beliefs that were passed on to them. Not necessarily the truth. The truth is something that does prevail, but it prevails without force. It carries with it a power within itself. So it's self-perpetuating. And when you start to grasp that you are actually creating moment by moment your existence, it starts to make more sense to you. And just think that you're just activating the infinite part of your mind at this point. You're just starting to activate it. You haven't even gotten to that yet. But your logical mind, your conscious mind, can still start to grasp it like, this can make sense. Let me hear more. Let me feel more, and then I'll be more. Where does your life really exist? Your life doesn't exist in your brain. That's just where we, as human beings, have decided, okay, we used to say for literally thousands, tens of thousands of years, when the heart stopped, that person no longer existed, right? And then we found too many people came back to life, even in modern day. We were sure, absolutely sure that they were gone from this plane, and they popped back. And so we said that's not the case. So now the next thing that we looked at was the mind, or the brain rather. The brain. We said, okay, when the electricity is gone out of the brain, that now we have it. And this is actually just in recent times. The past 25 to 30 years, this has come about. At first, it was protested and contested. The heart is still the better gauge because, and the experts would go back and forth, saying which one should we use, the brain or the heart or the brain, and the brain won out. Now, something unusual is going on. Life ceases, in some cases for days. Now, we know that if the brain is deprived of oxygen past the 3-minute mark, brain damage occurs. Past the 5-minute mark, irreversible brain damage occurs. Supposedly. Supposedly. But we have found that people are now brain dead, meaning no electricity, once again, no brain activity, no electricity is being emitted from the brain. So they are dead, not for minutes, hours, but days. And they come back unaffected. Oh, darn. That really blows everything because we had it all figured out, right? We had it all figured out, just like we have it all figured out. If you're looking at the different holy books, the Quran has it figured out, and then we have the Bible that has it figured out, and the Torah has it figured out. We keep on going. They all have it figured out. It's just that they're missing it, but they have it all figured out. You can have it all figured out and still completely miss it. And the way that you do it is just by accepting the pattern that was passed to you, saying this is how you will be. This is how you will dress, and this is what you will believe, and this is how you will eat, and this is how you won't. And these are the patterns that are passed to you. And then as you get older, you go, oh good, I've reached the age of maturation to where I can start to establish my own patterns. But you find yourself actually weaving back into those others that you had already preset as your baseline. The patterns, unless you create a historical moment in your life, unless you wake up, unless the lights go on. The light's going on, and then you become a light worker, a worker of light. This is not a metaphysical thing. This is an actual thing that now we can start to equate. We're at that point in science we can actually start to equate these things. We can play with the true life. The true life exists up here. It's about 1 inch above your head, above your cranium. It's an electrical field, but we can manipulate it. We can make it bigger and smaller. We could do all kinds of things with it. And we could actually weigh it. It weighs a little less than a half an ounce. So it actually has mass to it. So with all of that being said, we wanted to say, okay, now we are at this point where I'm looking at my life. And I'm seeing, okay, I can see that there's some patterns that are tripping me up, keeping me stuck, repeating the same things over and over again. What do I do? What do I do? Well, first you have to take responsibility. Because if you're saying on a consistent basis that the devil is after me and that's why this is happening, or yes, I'm suffering, but this is God's plan, well, you're done. And God bless you and allow you to be in heaven about a half hour before the devil knows that you're dead. I mean, really, really, if that's what you need, then that's all right. I'm not trying to change anyone. This is not my purpose here. My purpose is to share with you what it is. And anyone who's been to the other side, and I know some of you have been, you know already. You know exactly this. You're here just to say, oh yeah, I remember this, and yes, what you're saying is correct, and yes, and I remember that too. Why is it that when we go to the other side and we come back, we're all saying the same thing? We're all saying exactly the same thing. Including when the scientists say, well, that you did not experience that. You were experiencing hypoxia, which is just oxygen deprivation of the brain, and this causes hallucinations. We said, we don't care. We don't care. We know what we experience. You call it whatever you want. There was something. And what it was a truth. And that truth is you are creating moment by moment. The only difference on this plane to that plane is everything is instantaneous. Am I right? Everything is instantaneous on that side versus on this side, you have to work to condition yourself to make it that. You can get to that point. The first step is I am responsible. We say this often in these meetings, but if you're just tuning in for the first time, I'm going to share this with you. If you are tuning into this meeting, no matter where you are in the world, or if you're here with us live, that you created this, and I created this, and we all created this together. If any of us are going to close our eyes and open our eyes and act surprised, going, oh my gosh, look who's here! And you do the same thing back to me, that would be weird. Like something's wrong with you. And then I can make it even more worse and say, I know why you're here. The devil wants you here. And you're like, what? He is really losing it. And then the next is that if I even go with the God's plan. And this is not, again, a blasphemy moment. It's not even a downgrading or degrading of the devil. I don't care about all that stuff. What I care about is that you realize that every single thing that is in your life, everything that you have experienced up to this point in your life, whether it be good or bad, you at least contributed to it. At least. Now, when you get that down, when you say, hey, I had a contribution to that. Yes, it was terrible. It was a really bad experience. I was raped, but I knew something. I had an intuition about that guy. I had a feeling that day I shouldn't go there. I was this, I was beaten, I was broken, I was whatever you were. You can go back and say, somewhere there was an element of contribution on your part. And when you get really good at that, there is the graduate class. The graduate class says, I'm not satisfied with that. I want full responsibility. Full responsibility? You mean when this guy or this gal is beating on me, I want full, I'm not striking back even, I'm actually defending myself. How can I? Well, that's up to you. But when you get to that point, that's an empowering point. Because then you start to realize, oh, you know what? I'm creating it. So now if I'm creating the things I don't want, I could just turn it and create the things I do want. Now I want to make sure it's not attracting, it's creating. What the other people attract, whatever they want in their life, go one step further. Start creating it. That's where the power is. But you only get that when you start to get to the point where you say, you know what, I demand responsibility. And it's funny when you're demanding responsibility, because other people want to come to your rescue. And they're like, you didn't have anything to do with this. No, this doesn't really concern you. It's between me and her. And we go, no, I want responsibility because I want to grow, right? And I don't want to repeat this, even if it's not between me. If I'm witnessing it, I have a contribution or a responsibility in that. And when you're getting that, it starts to become very easy to rearrange the molecules, rearrange the pieces of your life to start to become what you want. The patterns are funny because a lot of them, you look back and you go, I was always this way. I was always this way. I was a kid born without parents. When you don't have parents, you got to be tough. Then I was born in a family with 7 girls, no brothers. You have to be tough. Those girls were tough girls. Then you go on, and as street kids, tough. Then it went on, became a fighter. Became a martial artist. Went into martial arts at 10 years old, and became my whole life was based around fighting. Anything at all to do with the martial way, or the military way. So weaponry to whatever, anything in combat. Went into military, it just went on. It was part of me. And I'd like to tell you that one day I traveled to Tibet, which I did do, and I became enlightened. No, it didn't work. I was still a fighter. As I was traveling through Tibet, through the Underground Railroad Way, oxen cart and all that sort of thing, I knew that any moment that if the Chinese were to capture us, they would shoot us on the spot. So I was ready for combat. I was a fighter. Wherever I was always a fighter. And I would refer to this. I would refer to it. Oh, life is hard right now. I feel like I'm against the ropes, and they're just pummeling me. They're peppering me. They're giving it to me. But I'm coming back. I'm not going down for the count. I'm using all of these anecdotes, metaphors that are focusing around the fight. And so if someone would catch me at the wrong time and say something to me, I'm a fighter, so I'd be like, I'd be nice. But if they would push me again, I could go right in that mode. So here I am in this hand, my left hand, which is closest to my heart, the biggest lover you ever saw. This one, my strong arm, my right arm, one of the most formidable foes that you ever would want to go against. So I said, you know what? I don't like this pattern because it was always producing a fight, no matter what. And then I was always attracting, even old ladies around me were saying, I'm duking it out with the electric company. I'm duking it out with this person. I'm really fighting with this person. I'm listening to this. I'm thinking, wow, look at this. I'm even tracking that. And these senior citizens. So I just kept on looking at this. So I said, you know what? No, I'm not that kid anymore. I still work out with martial arts, but I don't need that fight anymore. You only need to, really, you only want to fight until you really can fight, and then you don't need to fight anymore. But I said, I want to change that. I don't want to be a fight of life anymore. So I started working on it. And sharing this with you. And I said that as the year turned this year, I said, you know what? I'm putting up the gloves. I still train and everything, but I train from a different mentality now. I don't train for the moment of death anymore. No, not anymore. What I train now is just for the physical prowess of it and the physical acuity. And so as I was going and making this decision, as I was approaching the end of last year, of course, you know, when you want to change your pattern, I like to say, hey, change your pattern, it's easy. No. You will create situations that will really call upon you. They'll call upon your soul, also known as your mind, to really say, oh yeah? You think that you're giving up the fight? What about this fight situation? And put someone right in your face, ready to fight you physically. The other day I pulled into a McDonald's. And they have 2 lanes, right? And so I wasn't thinking. I was in a hurry. I didn't mean to be rude, but I'm talking on the phone. I'm pulling up, and I see there's an empty lane over here. So I pull up over that lane. All of a sudden, a guy in a pickup truck next to me yells out at me something derogatory, and he says, "Can you see there's a line here?" I said, "Well, I'm a fighter." Well, I saw that there was 2 lanes, and said I'll leave it at that. But he didn't leave it at that. He got more mad. And so then, normally, I would have been like, well, if you're a marshal, if you're a military man, then you're a military man. That's what you are, a military person. And so I would normally go into combat mode at that time, even in my head. If I didn't go into physical, like I would fight you, I would be right there, like backing you down, because that's what you do when you're a fighter from the ghetto. Mm-hmm. Instead, though, I caught myself, and I said, no, I'm changing this pattern. I don't do this. So I took a deep breath, and I put my head out the window. You know what? You're right, I'm sorry. I was in such a hurry. I didn't mean to be rude, but I think I was. Would you forgive me? And it blew him away. He was like, "What?" I mean, this was a big guy. He was a fighter too, so he was thinking, he was ready for a different way. And yes. And as it evolved, and I came back in, I said, "Wow, I created a loving, peaceful situation." And I took another notch up the ladder, right? Another leg up the ladder of where I want to be. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, if you're looking at your life and saying, you know what, I always did it this way, and it always turns out this way, and everything else, maybe you could take a deep breath and start to decide, you know what, I'm not going to do that anymore. Instead, I'm going to start handling it this way. And so what I decided at the end of last year is just start to ask people, will you forgive me? Sincerely, I mean, not just to throw it out there, but really feel that I want them to forgive me. So I asked them, wow, I am so sorry. Will you forgive me for that? And be genuine. And when you say this or to people, they will gladly forgive you. What about if you turn it on yourself? Because as I went back in the car, I thought, okay, I asked him to forgive me. What about me? I started going a little bit wobbly there. I forgave myself. Forgive yourself along the way so that you don't get locked into that energy. When you're in this creative mode, you have to realize that you start a momentum progress. You start a momentum progress of energy, of power, of self, of being. Your human being starts to be activated. And as that is activated, your creative abilities increase. Now, this does not mean that God is not creating things in your life. It means that you are the creative source of God to create those in your life. The only thing that you're here for is to create. If you're not creating, then you will find yourself, first of all, to become very depressed, aggressive. You will start to function at a lower vibration because you have come here to create, and that's why you're never satisfied. Once you get to this level, you want this level, and on and on. Of all things, you get this much love, you want more love. So when we're changing our patterns, I ask you first, look around your life. What are the things in your life that you don't like? Next, what patterns are you using to make sure that those things stay active? I know one lady that was married 5 times. She met all 5 of her husbands in a bar. And so when I was speaking with her, I said, well, how's it going now? I'm lonely. Okay. And so, you're lonely for, yes, I'm lonely for a man. I want someone to share life with, to be happy and walk by the lake and all these different things. And I said, okay, are you in that, first of all, within yourself? Have you worked on creating that pattern within yourself? Well, no, but because I wanted to share this with someone else. Well, first you have to start that within yourself. Next, you have to watch where you're shopping. If you are going in the grocery store and you want produce, you wouldn't head to the meat department. They would say, no, you're wrong, you're in the wrong place. And the same thing, if you want a good person, that doesn't mean that you can't find a good person in a bar. It just means that if you are a spiritual person, you might want to look where spiritual people hang out. If you are a bar person, I would say definitely get into a bar. Because if you are a bar person, you're hanging out with a spiritual person, falling in love with, that's not going to work either. See where your pattern is and start matching up the pattern. But that's why I said first start by adjusting your own pattern. Make sure that that's what you are. So what patterns are you utilizing to make sure that those results, those negative results, are continuously produced? One of them that you'll find usually is guilt. We're just programmed for that. And so you have to start to work on the fact that there's nothing to be guilty about. You're not infallible, so you make mistakes. And part of that is life. It's a big part. And when we're making mistakes in life, we can laugh about them. Just like when I went to the other side, and I went before the white light, and I chose the white light to become Jesus, and my life flashed before it, and it was nothing but a laughing moment. There was no anger, no judgment at all. I didn't feel it, and it wasn't coming about. I was puzzled. I couldn't figure out why there wasn't. But almost instantly, I realized it's not about that. So the guilt has to go. The next is to decide, okay, if those patterns are producing these negative results in my life, what results do I want instead? Now this is where people trick themselves. Okay, they may be overweight and they say, I want to be thin. Really? Do you really? Because if you do, then that's all right. But if you're just saying that to be mean to yourself, that's not nice. Right? Instead, just decide on what it is, the true results that you want in your life, and then work that way. If you are broke, financially broke, brokenhearted, broken mentally, and you say, I don't want that anymore, again, have a conversation, a truthful conversation with yourself. Really, if you're broke and you don't want that anymore, then why is it that you're still spending the way that in that pattern that got you to this point? You've made a lot of money. You've made a lot of money. Everyone in this country makes a lot of money. If you work at McDonald's, that's a lot of money in comparison to most places in the world. But what do you do with it? I know people who went to work at McDonald's making $5 back in those days, the minimum wage, $5, and have become tycoons. They just established the right patterns. I know people who married exactly the same person that they were and were miserable because that's the pattern. And I also know the opposite, where they married opposite people and they were in bliss because that was the pattern that they established. It's all that way. The pattern of creation within yourself. The pattern of what is it that you want your life to be. I can't tell you what that is. Nobody can. But you can't trick yourself, because what you end up doing is just live a miserable life. You're in constant misery because you're always saying, no, that's not what I want. I really do want this. I really do want this. But deep down inside you don't, because if you did, you would change the patterns that would produce that. You have the power. So once you decide on this is really what I want, then you just have to ask yourself, okay, what patterns would create that? You know. Because see, your subconscious mind is connected to the infinite intelligence. Infinite means exactly that. There is no beginning, there is no end. It can't be like, oh yeah, the infinite intelligence stopped right here. That would be ridiculous. It's infinite. It goes everywhere. It's in the walls. It's in everywhere. And so if it's everywhere, then it's you. And if you have this infinite intelligence, then I ask you to recognize what patterns are necessary to create the desired results that you want in your life. And then start to do that. And remember that the vein that runs through this whole thing, the circulation of it all, is ethics. Personal ethics. Personal ethics, choosing what's right or what's wrong, according to what you believe is right or wrong. If you want to lose weight, then you might say, I have decided that I want to lose weight. I want that's the actual results that I want in my life. And the pattern is that no more Oreos. Darn. When are they going to come out with a dietetic Oreo?
They did.
They did. Oh, okay. I didn't. Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yes.
Well, it's not the same, is it? Well, here's the thing: is that when you decide on these things and you start to establish the patterns, things start to come so quickly because of that momentum progress that I mentioned. And the momentum progress is where you start to get progress, and you build up a momentum with it to where it goes faster and faster and faster and faster. If you are not working on yourself along the way, working on your self-worth, you will crash it. You will crash it. Because at some point in time, it will catch up with you, saying, life is going so good, I know it's going to blow apart. That, and at least you'll start to have something around you that will start to begin to feel that way. Next thing you know, you start to throw wrenches in. In order to avoid that, work on yourself along the way to realize that if it's you, it's easy to degrade and to downplay your own abilities in this life. But when you realize that the subconscious mind that we speak of is more than an expression of God, because we're talking about infinity, that we're talking about the continuation of God, and if you have a subconscious mind, which we all do, or you wouldn't be on this plane anymore because that's your energy field, then that means that, yes, you have the same infinite power that runs through all things. Now, if it's you, it's easy to have the guilt and to degrade yourself. But would you do that to God? When you start to recognize, you know what? My subconscious mind is God, so if I'm downgrading myself, I'm actually downgrading God. I can't do that. I just can't bring myself to that. No, I'm great. Then you instantly start to have a better self-esteem. You start to increase your self-worth. And when you start to increase your self-worth, not only are you not allowing other people to stop, to abuse you, you're stopping all of that. You're stopping yourself from abusing you. It's one thing terrible when we see people abusing people. That's something that really does aggravate me, and it would have put me into a combat mode. It might still. But when I see someone doing it to themselves, it used to make me angry back when I was in my 20s, and I used to just walk around playing God for everyone. But now it makes me sad, because I want to go up to that person and say, do you realize what you're doing? Do you realize what you're doing to God? You're hurting God. By you playing small, by you holding yourself down, not back, but down, you're downgrading yourself, you're hurting God. And when you're hurting God, since your subconscious mind is connected to my subconscious mind, which is connected to yours and yours, it's hurting me. It's hurting all of us. This is the historical time in our lives when we're starting to realize that, you know what? I'm not alone. I'm not alone. And these little serendipitous times or synchronistic times where you're thinking of the same thing I'm thinking of, that's not coincidence. It might be coincidence if it happens once or twice. But as it starts to happen multiple times with other people, and how many times has it occurred where you say to someone, I was just thinking the same thing. It might not have been verbatim, but it might have been the concept even. I was thinking the same thing because your intellectual mind, your conscious mind, was just translating what was in the subconscious mind in your reference pattern, but it was still the same thing. How many times do you need that to occur to realize the relationship between all of us? And that relationship is in the subconscious mind. And as we are realizing this individually, that we start to activate it collectively, and as we activate it collectively, that's how we make the changes that we desire in this world. In this world, your world, and this world, our world. They're one in the same. You have so much more power than what you think you have because you don't understand the concept of infinity. But you have an infinite amount of power to do whatever you want in this life. As far as the easy things, like truly creating those wondrous things for your life, if it's the special person or the special body, the financial prosperity, whatever it is that you deem to be prosperous, those are the easy things. They're easy as you start to grasp that you are infinite. And that's what we're here to understand. That's why you came here at this point in history instead of coming 1,000 years ago or 1,000 years in the future. This is the history that is now being created that will carry us for the next 2,000 years. Every 2,000 years, something comes about. Actually, and in between that, there are other things as well. But about every 2,000 years, the planet goes through a major shift in consciousness. And in that consciousness, what comes about are different things like religion, concepts around religion. The last big shift, really before this one, was the Akhenaten, and that was the monotheistic concept that there was one God. Before him, there was many gods, and he said, no, there's only one. And then he went one step further, and he said, and that is me. And so it really worked out well for a lot of people, including himself, but it worked out for a lot of people for many years, and it brought a lot of sanity to the planet by eliminating the polytheistic concept and just saying, no, there's one God. And then as it went on, it did evolve into some other things, but not very big until the Christianity movement came about. When the Christianity movement came about, now that has played through, and that doesn't mean to give up your Christianity beliefs. It just means that it has played through. Now, I know of some very powerful ministers that are out there that are in the closet tonight watching this, today watching this, and saying, yes, that's what I understand. But I'm not going to say that from the pulpit because that's not going to really do anything for our congregation. That could cause a split, and we can go bankrupt. Well, I mean, churches have a business. That's all right. Everyone deserves to make a profit. And I'm not saying that that's their only intention. I'm just saying that could affect their bottom line. And in doing so, that could affect their desires in life, their purpose in life, and that is to share their beliefs. But in their true beliefs, they understand. You understand. You understand. You're being activated. These things are being activated right now in many people around the planet. This is not the only meeting that's going on. It's probably not the only meeting that's going on even with Ustream. There are many meetings that are taking place simultaneously with this one, with other groups, saying exactly the same thing. Well, how is that working? It's because our subconscious minds are all connected, and we're saying at this point in time, we're ready for the next step. Akhenaten's ideas, they weren't all that far off, actually. He did a lot of great things. Him and Nefertiti, they did some really wonderful things. Look it up. Buddha was not that far off. Siddhartha Gautama was a wonderful person and did some wonderful things. It's just that, today it's different. Now today, I mean, Buddha might have been driving a Jaguar. and there's, and it's just that he can get around better. He can get around faster. He can do more things than that. At least a minivan or something, right? But he can do better things, and so that's what is happening today. We can do better things. It's time that we take it to the next step, and that next step is saying, okay, I'm ready to take responsibility and make some changes in my life, and have the courage to step forward and do that with and for other people as well, to help to become their light worker, to turn on their light. And that's all a light worker does. A light worker just works the light, turns the switch on, turns it on, and if someone says, too bright for me, I want to stay stuck with, okay, fine, turn it off. You're the light worker. Turn it off and let them stay in that place. They may actually be fine in their existence this time, right where they're at. But if they are seeking more, as so many people are, then say, you know what? Just check this out. Check out what we're doing. Check out what other people are doing. Check out what we're saying here by connecting in one and being causative rather than the effect of things. Being proactive rather than passive. There's enough passivity in the world that is causing a lot of confusion. Proactivity is causativeness, where you are saying, this is my intention, this is what I will do to make that intention manifested into reality. And that's what history is. That's what history is. Now I would like to open up and ask you, what are your thoughts, questions, interjections?
Well, I was going to say, when you were talking about creating, there's also a vocabulary that goes with it that you need to consciously think about. Because
Yes.
I find myself catching myself now with certain words that create that negative pattern and changing the word to make it positive. And it's a really good feeling though to do that.
Yes, yes. That's the thing is really pay close attention to your conversations that you're having with yourself. That's a very important thing. Yes, it will surprise you. It will surprise you if you're driving down the expressway and you find yourself going, "Ooh, that car is getting very close to me." Well, you know, not that you're going to get in a wreck right at that moment, but just think, you're telling yourself that you don't deserve a safe journey. That you are supposed to always be in fear and uncomfortable. No. Actually, there's many cars on the highway. By far, the majority of the cars are not going to get in an accident. It would be a freak thing for you to get in an accident. It's a freak thing when your life doesn't go right. You really have to work hard at making it not go right because the plan is always expansion. Life is expanding. To make it contract, you really have to work hard. You have to really be filled with fear, anger, same thing, right? Anger and fear, same thing. Stress, same thing, intelligent way of saying it. All these things. And you have to really work hard at feeding the counterintention of the universe of saying, no, let there be life and let it be abundant throughout the whole universe. Not only a little speck of dust in the Milky Way called Earth, but the whole universe, let there be life abundantly. And let it be expansive. You have to really work hard to go against that now. But most people will do that because they don't know. So they work hard daily inside their head to fuel their thoughts to support exactly what they don't want. So start paying attention to what are you thinking at this moment. So as if you're taking a shower, just ask yourself, what am I thinking? What am I thinking? I say this in the mental codes. What am I thinking right now? What am I thinking right now? And start to take an inventory of that. And you really will surprise yourself to see that there is a strong, direct correlation between what you're thinking and what you're existing as. So if you are angry, you're going to see that you have angry thoughts. If you are lonely, you're going to see you have lonely thoughts. If you are broke, you're going to see you have broke thoughts. And everything around that is always going to support those thoughts. So you do have to start with that. And what I always recommend is, and I do this even with myself, as I shared with you tonight. I stop myself and I say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to think about that. Yes, right. The ha-ha, the laughing technique. The laughing technique is where whenever you're hit with these things, I created this years ago, and if you really want to have fun with yourself and see what life is really supposed to be about, try the laughing technique. And it's where you start to have one of those stressful days, and so you get the bill, and you go, oh my word, I wasn't ready for that. You go, ha. And at first you have to force yourself to laugh. Ha, ha. But soon, then the call comes in, and it's something sad or something mad, and then you laugh right out loud. Ha, ha. And it gets easier. As the day goes on, you're starting to roar. By the end of the day, you are laughing so hard about all the negativity that soon you recognize that it doesn't even matter. It goes so quickly that within hours, you change over to where you find out, you know what, none of this really matters. It really doesn't matter. And that if I'm getting these things, I really have to stop and look at it. Anytime that I have one of those really terrible days, I know where it came from. I created every bit of it. I remember driving home, a few weeks back and just started to crack up because I had one of those days from the morning all the way down, all the way through the whole day into the night. Everything I touched crumbled, and I was driving, and I thought, you crazy guy. Why did you do that to yourself? What was that all about? Did you need a little jazz up in your life there? Did you need a little action? Did you need to feel alive? Did you need to be empowered? Was it an ego thing so that you could solve some problems and then feel really good? Oh, look at me, I solved all these problems today. What was it? And I wouldn't let myself off the hook until I at least got some of the answers, right? I really want to know because I want to expand. And the only way you're going to expand is to get the answers. Force yourself to get the answers. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck. And that stuck point looks like, here it comes again, and here it comes again, and here it comes again. And people ask you, well, how's it going? I'm surviving. Wow. I'm thriving, you know. I'm thriving. I'm just perfect, and it's
Getting better.
getting better. I'm perfect, and it's getting better. Yes. So that's a really good point. I'm going to strongly encourage you to listen to your conversation, and then after you listen to your conversation that you're having with yourself, then start to listen to the conversation that you're having with other people. That's an important thing next, because with the conversation that you're having with the other people, you know, I went to the circus with the kids and some relatives. I don't want to say in case they're watching tonight. But you know who you are. But I went there, and here we were at the circus, not even 30 minutes, and one of the people found a couple other people to get into a conversation about the negativity of politics and how the world's falling apart because of the administration and all this other thing. And I thought, yes, at the circus. I thought, why would you pay money to go to a circus to have fun, to have this conversation? So it just didn't make sense to me. Instead, I thought, first of all, with whatever they were saying, it wasn't a constructive, it wasn't causative. It wasn't that they were saying, okay, will you sign this petition? Will you join me? Will you give a donation? Whatever. Yeah, it was just like stir it up. Yeah, stir it up. And so that's exactly how it is. So then what you want to do is you want to start paying attention to what the conversations that you are having with other people, and then be selective of those conversations.
Be selective of the people too.
Be selective of the people. Yes. Well, actually, they'll start to select to be away from you if you're not engaging with that negativity. Life is really great, but you will only experience the greatness of life whenever you start to become selective and only choose to have conversations of greatness with yourself and other people. And because when those conversations, the next step past the conversations, are always going to be action. So you start with the conversation, then the actions, right? The thoughts produce the actions, and then the actions are going to produce the results. Any other another question? Thought?
I'll comment. I've been playing with this whole infinity thing, and you know how I'm with children as much as possible in my free time. And so I had this 7-year-old, Phyllis's grandson, Zion, and we're walking, taking a little walk, and I'm teaching the younger kids stop, look, listen at the crosswalks because we're walking on a street. So stop, look, listen, and I got the teenager says, you know, I can hear, I don't need. So we're talking about senses. I said, you want to stop, look, and listen because those are 2 of your senses. So I say to Zion, the 7-year-old, how many senses do we have? And he looks up and says, Google. And I immediately went like, I said, do you know what that means? And he said, 100 zeros. And I went, oh my goodness, here's this little step, and it suddenly popped. I went, we are taught we have 5 senses. And they even get a little annoyed when we talk about the 6th one. And here we have Google senses.
Love it.
It's not just seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing, and touch, and psychic and whatever else, but we actually have an infinite number of senses.
Yes, yes.
And here's a little 7-year-old that reminds me that that we're infinite.
I love that. I love that. And you know, I love this exercise that I created to give you that ability to feel what you really are. Now this is the closest that you're going to get, unless you have been to the other side. Then you know that it's another giant step beyond it. But this is the closest that you get on this plane to feel what it feels like for your real self. That's your infinite self. So I'd like to just take you on this really short exercise so that you can experience this once. If you would, just uncross everything again and take a slow, deep breath. And you're going to start relaxing your body from your toes all the way up. So starting with your toes, relax your toes and your feet, your lower legs, and your upper legs. And let them just drift away, melt away. Now relax your lower stomach, your buttocks, your chest and your back. Let them just drift away. Relaxing your shoulders, your arms, and now your hands. Let it all just drift away. It feels so good to just let it just drift away from you. Relax your neck, your scalp, your ears, and your face. And now your entire body just melts away. And as your physical body melts away, you are there in spirit. And in your heart, visualize a white light that starts to grow. From the center of your chest, it starts to expand out of your body. It continues to rapidly expand into anyone that's around you, and then into anything that's around you. Chairs, walls, buildings, you all become just one as you expand this white light around it, and it becomes engulfed in this light. And you continue to expand, and you expand from your place that you are right now into the surrounding neighborhood, and then rapidly through the city or the town, and then through the country, the entire country. You're just expanding. You expand completely around the globe, and then from there you emit out this wonderful light into the space, into outer space. It continues to rapidly expand. Since it's light, it rapidly expands at the speed of light, but it feels good to rapidly expand into deep space. Throughout the universe. Feel that. You're one. That's what you really are. Now take a deep breath. And calmly but quickly bring yourself back. Bring yourself back. Bring yourself back. And let your body come back up. That's as close as you can get, isn't it? That's close. That's close. Well, that's what you are. And when you are playing around with this infinite, it becomes so comfortable that, and don't worry, you're not going to die by doing this. We say when you lose the fear of death, you lose the fear of living. And when you lose the fear of living, that's when you can really experience all of this. Most people don't ever experience a fraction of this because they're afraid of death, let alone living. So when you start to experiment with this and experience this more and more, you realize that that is your real self and this is your temporary self. That is your real existence of oneness with infinite. This is just a training ground for you to experience your infantile self getting prepared for what we're talking about tonight. Any other thoughts or questions? Well, I want to thank you. I really appreciate everyone being here and tuning in again. And we'll be here again next week, 6:30 to 8, or 6:30 to 7:30 on the internet, but 6:30 to 8 here, something like that. And please tell others to tune in. And we thank you so much, not for tuning in with us, but for being with us. Being with us, because it's when we all collectively come together, that's what is coming out in this. Some of the things I said, I really am enjoying just as much as you are, because you said it tonight. Thank you very much, and I look forward to next week. Until then, bye for now.